anything that we can that is going to provide you with the opportunity to live your best life. That's my goal. It's basically my goal in everything I do for myself, for my family, for my clients. Let's see. I want to. Sorry, too many moving parts in here. I want to do my best to be a guide as well as be guided to better things. Life is about learning. It's about experiences, and it's about going through the hard stuff so we can get to the good stuff in many cases. So today it's just me. We usually have if you're new to the show, we usually have a guest on, but today it's just me. It's an interesting and fun place to be, just hanging out here by myself and just talking to you. It's not a normal thing for me to just kind of sit and talk to myself, but I really enjoy it because there are things that sit on my heart and things that I want to share that I think it's important that it just comes from me. But there are a lot of people who are, who believe and agree with the things that I say, but sometimes we just don't get to say it the way that I am thinking it. And so this isn't really making any sense. What I'm trying to say is I hear in practice a lot of times that my clients are feeling like their power has been taken away. And I think it's sad. I think it's frustrating. And, I think that there is a way that we can take that power back. And that's my goal with everything that I do, is to help people grab the power that they have so they can move forward. So, but as always, we start the show with gratitude. I think that what I'm grateful for today, and the reason we start the show with gratitude is because literally gratitude can change the world. If we take a step back and just appreciate even the tiniest things that we have in our life that makes things good. I don't care how small it is. I don't care how big it is. I don't care if it's one. I don't care if it's 1,000. Just being grateful can change your energy. It can change your biochemistry, and then it radiates. It radiates to all of those who are around us, right? So for today, I lost the phone, Henry. Anyway, so today I'm grateful for the fact that I have finally launched Soulful Conception, which is it has been a program from the heart that has been in the making for a really, really long time. And I say that, I'll give just a little bit of history, kind of interestingly, is, back when I was in college as undergrad, I took a reproductive physiology course. And that was sort of the beginning of my love for the miracle of life and the miracle that we have the ability to create life. Obviously, we are co-creating with our Creator, but it is this beautiful, perfect, amazing process that we experience and so often just kind of take for granted that it is a miracle that happens every single day, multiple times a day, and sometimes multiple times for us humans. And it's really fascinating and, again, beautiful and miraculous. And so that started my journey, sort of this long and windy journey into the love of reproduction, the love of fertility, the love of how we have the ability to create, or we can create health, or we can create a lack of health. And so much of this, we have this view of procreation that it is, well, it's just going to happen, or man, if it doesn't happen, then well, it's my fault for it not happening, right? There are a lot of factors that go into creating little humans, and I think that taking a step back and knowing that you're as healthy as you can possibly be as you're moving through that process, both mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, if possible, as healthy as you can be in all of these ways, only helps to create a more healthy little human. And so that has been my journey with Soulful Conception, is helping people in that journey to health or to optimize, either way, to then create the healthiest pregnancy and the healthiest baby and the healthiest adult, and then of course adults for generations to come, right? And so that's what this is about. This is about not only creating for today, but creating for the future and for many, many generations. And so Soulful Conception, I'm grateful for that, but that also leads me then into today's conversation. And so today's conversation is really been something that's been sitting on me for a while, because what I see, sorry, I've got all of these notifications. What I keep hearing in practice as I work with clients, they come to me and I hear them say, you know, everybody keeps telling me I'm fine. My labs are fine. Everything's normal. What's the problem? Why do I not feel right? And then they're just kind of blown off. And it's a really frustrating place for anyone to be. And it's a frustrating place for me to be, because my goal is to never blow anyone off, right? I don't want to blow off the smallest things, because those can end up being large things. I want to understand what's going on to the deepest level, and where there's a disconnect with, I believe, with conventional medicine and with functional medicine / functional nutrition, is, you know, conventional medicine has been taught to find a symptom and cover it up. Whereas in functional medicine and functional nutrition, we're taught to understand what the symptom, where the symptom is coming from, and then address the cause of that symptom so the body can then repair and rebalance. And so we have this situation where we have people over-drugged. Drugs are important in certain situations, but we have people over-drugged. We have, what is the stat? I wonder if I put it up here. The stat where, I think I didn't. I was looking. So what is it? 42 million people. I'm not going to say that because I don't remember what it is. Anyway, a huge, huge number of people are on antidepressants. And the data shows, I mean, it is evidence-based fact. And so it's a really interesting situation that we have ourselves in, where we go to the doctor says, well, your labs look fine, and then we hear the words, so you're fine, or you're just getting older, get used to it, or that's just how you're made, get used to it, or it's the luck of the draw, or I don't know how to help you, or let's put you on antidepressants and see if that helps. And what does that do? What does that do to the patient, the client who is searching, who is sitting there going, I know something's wrong? What does it do to their mental and emotional state? What does it do to their power, right? It literally takes their power away, and they're like, I don't know what to do. I know that this isn't right. And so often they just live life that way. Right? How miserable is that? Live life that way. So we can repair and balance and live this God-given life to the fullest that we can. We all have so much to give. You know, I believe that we're put here to give, to learn, to serve, to educate, to guide, all of these things that I try to do on a daily basis. But I think that's what we're all put here to do. And when we don't have the power, we don't have the health, we don't have the understanding. We may be always having to look for the bathroom when we're out, or you don't know when a pain is going to arise and you have to go home. Whatever the case may be, that's not the way to live life. And for you to be told your labs are fine, so you're fine, or just deal with it, that's just the way that you're made, I think it's problematic. And we need to take a step back and say, I am going to find my team and I'm going to get better. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time to find your team, but it's important to find your team to help you to get to a better place. So I was doing a little bit of, looking around as I was, thinking about this talk today. And there is a quote from Dr. Mark Hyman, who is just as good as it gets. If you don't know Dr. Mark Hyman, check him out. He's just really smart, and he's one of the, I don't know if you call him one of the founders of functional medicine, maybe, but I believe he's one of the founders of the Institute for Functional Medicine, which is where I have some of my training from. And it's great because it really is, when we're looking at functional medicine, functional nutrition, we're looking for the root cause. We want to understand the body. Disease doesn't just happen. There's always a reason for it. So what he said was, we are amidst a metabolic health and obesity crisis that has taken the world by force, hijacking our biology, creating cellular dysfunction, and ultimately making us overweight, depressed, infertile, and chronically ill. And so, these are the things that I see and I deal with every day. And why is that? We have this, medicine has been, they have this approach that we have disease and symptoms for, it's just mysterious. And there's really no true cause for it. When it is the way that we live life, the way that we view life, the way that we experience life, that impacts our health. And so we take that back to epigenetics. So if you've listened to me at all, you know that epigenetics is this amazing and fascinating part of science that puts the control in our hands, right? And so we talk about our genome. So we had the human genome was mapped out, I think in like 2001 or something like that. And so the thought was, okay, so that's who we are. We are just our genes. But what we have since discovered is we have locations on top of our genes that turn on and off, and they turn on and off due to lifestyle factors. And I'm talking food, exercise, too much, too little, the wrong food, the right food, environment, sleep, trauma, stress, toxicants in the environment, toxicants that you put on your skin. All of these things turn your epigenome on and off, which is what allows for genetic expression. So we have the ability to create healthy or unhealthy genetic expression. And so when I'm talking about that, we can have the predisposition for autoimmune conditions. We can have the predisposition or the potential, right, the epigenetic potential for autoimmune conditions. I have the epigenetic potential for celiac disease and other autoimmune diseases. We can see that in our epigenome, and we can see that in testing. It's fascinating. We can have certain variants that create more of the potential toward cardiovascular disease, toward diabetes, toward obesity. We can have these variants, but it doesn't mean that they have to be turned on. There is, and I was going to grab her name, but there is a woman in the higher ups. She's in federal government. I believe she's a doctor. I did not do my pre-show prep very well today, but anyway, what she says is the number one cause for obesity is genetics. and it's not entirely wrong, but it's mostly not right. If that makes any sense at all. Because, I mean, what we're doing is we're saying that what we eat doesn't matter, that how we deal with stress doesn't matter, that how we sleep doesn't matter, that if we are overweight, it's just the way that it is and there's nothing that we can do about it. And that's a lie. It's a huge lie, and it's sad because it again takes the power out of our hands. We have control. Now, going back onto the obesity train, for lack of a better word, it's also in part not our fault because of the way that our food system is today. We have this highly ultra processed food that we take and we overeat, so it doesn't allow for the right hormones to turn on and turn off our hunger hormones. It doesn't allow our body to work. So what the data shows is that if we eat ultra processed food, we actually take in an extra 500 calories a day by eating ultra processed food because our body doesn't recognize it. Now, does it not recognize it because it's not nutrient dense? Potentially. Is it not recognizing it because it doesn't allow for the body to turn these hunger and satiety hormones on and off? Potentially. I think it's a lot of those things. But we can be obese, we can be overweight, and still be undernourished. And I have to talk to my bariatric surgery clients about this too. Is the likelihood of being undernourished is very high because there's not the ability to process the nutrients that are in their food. So back to it. We have gone from, I think back in the 60s it was a 4%, sort of 4% or 3% rate of obesity, to now it's like 42% obesity. That's not genetic. We don't have the ability to change genetics that way. This is our food system. This is the way that we see and utilize food, and the lack of eating good, healthy, nutrient-dense food. This has created such a serious situation of this increase in our health status, our decrease in health status maybe, right? So we have an increase in cardiovascular disease, we have an increase in diabetes, we have an increase in metabolic syndrome, which is basically both of those. We have an increase of cancer, we have an increase of all these things. The more science we have, the more knowledge we have, the sicker we get. Why is that? Does that really make sense? Not really. And so we still then have the situation where we're coming back and we go to our doctor and they're telling us, you know, we're seeing that we're feeling that there's an issue, but we don't know how to take care of it. So we go to our doctor. The doctor says your labs are fine. So I want to talk about labs for a minute because I think that I look at labs as the way the body's talking to us, right? And so let me back that up a little bit. We have lost the ability, in many cases, not everyone, but we've lost the ability to listen to our bodies. And when we have a symptom, so we have a pain, we have to go take an ibuprofen, right? We just go cover it up. We have heartburn, we have to go take a Tums to cover it up. It doesn't fix it, it just covers it up. You know, so whatever the case may be, we have this place where we're like, okay, this is what's happening, here's the symptom, I need to cover it up, instead of asking the question, why is this happening in the first place? And that's what we need to do. And that's what I try to teach as often as I can to anybody who will listen to me, is always ask why. And when you think you have answers, ask why again. Ask why again. even now, as I work with my clients and I'm asking why, or if I'm, at a conference or, at a educational conference or whatever the case may be, I'm learning that there's still deeper whys. So getting in and digging as deep as you can to understand, so then the body has the ability to work from the bottom up. I say this a lot, but if you imagine a tree, you've got the roots and you've got the branches and the leaves and everything up here. If your roots aren't being nourished, if they don't have the ability to take up nutrients, and if there are things that are blocking the ability for the tree to function properly, you're going to have spindly leaves. You may have no leaves at all. You're going to have your branches that start to break off and die because they're not getting the nutrients that they need. So when we're looking at root cause, that's what we're talking about. So for us, we're looking at sleep and stress and microbes and infections and toxicants. Again, there are toxicants in our air, and I can't say it enough. Look at what you're putting on your skin and on your body. It's not just about what you eat, which is huge, but look at what you're putting on your skin, washing your hair with, washing your clothes with, what you're putting in your yard. I mean, we don't need all of these poisons and toxins in our yard. So we're poisoning ourselves, we're poisoning our kids, we're poisoning our dogs and our cats and our animals. We don't need these things. If anything, if you've got a bunch of dandelions in your yard, pick them and eat them. I mean, and that's what a lot of the weeds are. It's food. So how interesting is it? I've done this in my own yard, is to look and see what's growing and see what it is that you might be able to do with it. Stick in a pot or put it in a salad, whatever the case may be, right? So when it comes to functional labs, so what I was going to say is we've lost the ability, or we just don't pay attention to when our body's trying to talk to us, right? So we blame pain on bad luck, or we blame it on genetics, we blame it on whatever the case may be, on age, when really it's a symptom or a cluster of symptoms that's going on that we need to listen to, and the body's saying, hey, I need you to jump in now. I need you to help me because I can't do this on my own anymore. And so when we run labs, that's what we're doing. Is this, it's a deeper way of allowing the body to talk to us, which is super cool. So I'm a lab geek, and I love I love the data that it can give me, but it also is a puzzle. So the more labs that we can run that make sense, the more pieces of the puzzle you can put together. And so as I'm, working with clients, we'll run, so everybody's heard of your typical comprehensive metabolic panel with CBC. So yes, let's run that. But the one that I run is much more extensive, so we're getting many more pieces of the puzzle. But then we might want to run a GI panel. We might want to run a hormone panel. We might want to run a toxicant panel. The environmental toxicants, the heavy metals, all of these things. The more, depending on the situation, right? We don't want to over test, but the more we can test, the more we can look at these lab results, these functional lab results, the more pieces of the puzzle we can put together. So going back to our typical CMP or comprehensive metabolic panel, we can look at this and we can look at it through our general lab ranges, which is interesting too, because these ranges can be different from lab to lab. Doesn't really make sense to me. I don't know why that's the case, but it is the case. And so when we're looking at general lab ranges, which is what which will be on the lab report, oftentimes things can be missed. So when we're looking at it through functional lens or at functional ranges, those ranges tend to be sometimes, for lack of a better word, but maybe a little more narrow. And so if we are outside of functional range, more things may pop up, but it's like the beginning. It's like, this is a red flag, let's pay attention to this. And are there other things that are popping up that are red flags, or even out of pathogenic range, that we need to look at to help us to understand the larger portion of the puzzle? And then beyond that, so out of functional range are red flags. Out of lab range is more, you're pathogenic, there may be more going on, so we need to really pay attention. But understanding functional ranges is so important because more things will come in, will have a tendency of coming up, and you can start to think, okay, now maybe we need to run this lab because this is an early indicator of whatever the case may be. We need to run this lab so we can understand more of what's going on. So it helps to point us in directions of what could be happening. And then we look at other types of, so this is more of your general conventional lab testing. But then we look outside of that and we're looking at things like a stool analysis. Nobody likes to do stool analysis. It's no fun, but it can give us more information than so many labs out there. So I run this on basically every client that I have who comes through the door. Why? Because if we understand what's going on in the gut, there's a higher likelihood of understanding what's going on everywhere else. So if we have dysbiosis, which is an imbalance in your microbes, if we have parasites, if we have worms, if we have gallbladder dysfunction, if we have pancreatic dysfunction, if we have, there are a ton of things. This report that I run is sometimes 70 pages. Now, it doesn't mean we need every bit of that information. A lot of it's a little bit repetitive. But if we want to understand our microbiome and why it's functioning as it is, we need to understand the bugs that are there, right? That's understanding our microbiome. We have bugs, even if they are healthy and are supposed to be there, sometimes they can become what they become opportunistic. So they are, they're normal, they're healthy in smaller amounts, so our microbiome gets out of whack, and then they are opportunistic and they have a tendency to flourish, which can create problems. And then, of course, we have just your plain out, pathogenic bugs that can create a lot of problems too. And we all have them, right? We all have the potential of having them. Even if we live here in the United States, we have the potential of having worms. Many of us have worms. We don't eat the way that we used to eat that are typical anti-parasitics and antimicrobials like we used to eat, however many hundreds of years ago. With this industrialized society that we live in, where we eat food that's not really food, we're not eating the things that help our bodies to cope with invaders, right? So whether they're worms or whether they're parasites or whether they're just microbes that aren't supposed to be there, we don't really have the ability to cope like we used to. Our farming methods are in shambles. Conventional farming methods are in shambles. Same with ranching, and we're eating food. Even if it's a piece of meat, we're eating food that is unhealthy, and the unhealthy of that animal biochemically translates to us. So same thing with us. I don't know that I'm going to get too deep into that right now, just because I have in other shows. So feel free to check it out. And anytime I talk about meat, anytime I talk about fat and dairy and those things, I get into why they're a problem, why conventionally they're a problem, and we need to really start to take a step back and look at beyond organic farming and get into the regenerative farming and getting back to basics. That's really what it is. The way that we used to work the land, the way that we used to raise animals. I will say, I say this a lot, and I think it's just so important to understand that I believe that we are meat eaters. We're not carnivores, but we need to have meat. Too many things are missing if we don't have meat. With that being said, I am a huge animal advocate. I believe, my master's degree is in animal science, right? I teach people to feed dogs raw. I think that I'm a huge animal advocate. We are here to serve these animals while they're here, because in the end they serve us, especially those that are food animals, cows, chickens, pigs, so forth. So we should have them on land where they're only grass-fed, entirely grass-fed. We should have chickens on land where they're able to peck at worms and be in the sun. We should give them what God created them to have, because that serves us in the end also. So we take care of them. They're serving us with their health and with their being food, right? And so it's really important to take that to heart. We should be eating animals that are as healthy as they can possibly be, because that only benefits us. So, which means we need to take care of them, right? We got to take care of these guys. So back to lab work. When we are trying to understand what's going on with the body and we're told we're fine, again, what's it doing is taking the power away from us. And so take your power back. Find somebody who's going to be able to dig for you, who wants to help you find answers, whatever it is. So if it's mental and emotional, the changing your food is changing your food to good, healthy food and getting away from the ultra-processed food. The likelihood of it changing your mental and emotional state skyrockets. So if you're dealing with anxiety, if you're dealing with depression, especially, gosh, I have so many people coming to me after the whole COVID debacle and saying, I'm just in this place now and I can't get out of it. So, let's look at food, let's look at stress, let's look at all of these other factors, and how can we support the body in order to get over the hump of depression and anxiety? Because that's what it is. It's another symptom. Depression and anxiety are a symptom. It's a symptom of something deeper. So, is it a symptom of something deeper? What's the inflammatory process? Why is it happening? Right? Inflammation is the key. But we got to ask why the inflammation's there. So, are you absorbing your nutrients or not absorbing your nutrients? Is there a gut issue? Is there a microbial issue? Is there mycotoxin exposures? We live I'm here in Colorado. We live in a fairly dry climate. We still have people, I see it all the time, who are exposed to mycotoxins and don't know that mold here can be an issue, and it can be a huge, huge issue, and it doesn't just go away. Interestingly, though, epigenetically, some people have the variants that make them more less tolerant, more susceptible, whatever you want to call it, to mycotoxins. So two people might live in a home where there are mycotoxins, or might eat food, there's, coffee and grains tend to be really, really high in mycotoxins. So if you don't know what mycotoxins are, it's just mold, right? But it's different types of mold, lots of different types of mold out there that can be super problematic. But if you're in a home and you have mold in your home, you may have two different people that are exposed. One person may have no reaction, the other person may have massive reactions. I had a friend who I was talking to the other day, and I hadn't seen her at the gym in a while. I was like, what's going on? Where have you been? She said she's just dealing with this massive mold exposure, and she's not been able to eliminate it. It's not easy. It's not easy to eliminate, and it often goes undetected. And so it can be as simple as having allergies, but it can be as deep as pain and GI dysfunction and brain fog and all of these things then moving into your really serious issues, potentially Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and these things that can happen that really, again, is just a cluster of symptoms. Not trying to downplay Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, but they are a cluster of symptoms, and the body's reacting for a reason. We got to figure out why and what's causing it. Had a client who came to me with Parkinson's and ended up, he had Lyme. So Lyme disease is everywhere. Lyme disease is crazy, right? And so we can have these diseases that mimic neurological issues, right? Think about MS, think about, which is an autoimmune condition, but lots of these autoimmune conditions can be triggered by microbes, can be triggered by Lyme infections and mycotoxin exposures and things like that. So, anyway, so understanding labs and understanding that just because your labs look fine doesn't necessarily mean that you're fine. And when you have symptoms that you know that there's a problem and you're told you're fine, it's time to find somebody else who's going to help you. I fully believe that. And you've got an interview. You have to interview people. You interview all of your practitioners, whether it's your doctor, your nutritionist, your PT, your chiropractor. You want to interview them because you want to know that they are on your side and they're going to help you and they're going to listen to you. Again, it goes back to, if you're not being listened to, your power is being taken away. So find somebody who wants to give you your power, who wants to allow you to have your own power and to keep your power and for you to be accountable, right? We're all accountable for ourselves. We're accountable for what we put in our body. We're accountable for the way we react to things. We're accountable for the way we treat people. You know, we are held accountable, and we should be held accountable. And so that's empowering to be held accountable. I have the power in my hands to be healthy for the most part. Genetic conditions are 3 to 5% of the diseases that we deal with. Everything else is lifestyle. So the power is in my hands to be as healthy as I can possibly be. And nobody's perfect, right? We still got to live a life. And I want to make sure that I'm very clear about that, because I'm certainly not perfect. And to say that, I should tell you about this, because it's really fun when people are creating new and fun things. Anyway, so I went to a networking event last night, and there was a man there, and the company is Mountain High Pie. And it actually is moonshine. So interestingly, but it's really mild, but he takes the moonshine, the alcohol, and then he puts natural juices in it. So it's, one is apple pie and it's delicious, and one was peach cranberry and it was delicious. Anyway, just really fun. I'm not advocating for a bunch of alcohol intake, but it's social, it's a fun thing, and it's what we do, and tasting it is really kind of fun. But if you're here or if you're anywhere and you want to check out some Mountain High Pie, pretty good stuff, interesting, low alcohol content, so that's good. But anyway, so super fun. So the point is that I'm not perfect, and nobody is perfect, and the expectation is never perfection. But knowledge is power, and knowing and having the knowledge so you can make decisions, whether they're the right decisions or the wrong decisions. That's what's important, because if you have the knowledge and you decide, I'm going to go try a little Mountain High Pie, then so you do. And you're like, okay, so I don't drink tomorrow, or whatever the case may be, right? Or if it's a cookie, or if it's pasta, or whatever it is, if it's, using something on your skin that you shouldn't use, whatever the case may be. Nobody's perfect, but having the knowledge so you know how to make the decision, that's what's important. And so there was something that stood out to me, and this is really kind of off topic a little bit, but I had not thought about this, and I talk a lot about the toxins that are in our food, the toxins that are in our skincare products, kind of like the things I was just saying. But what I've never thought about are the toxins that are in our gum. So super interesting that microplastics are found in gum. So if you have a habit of chewing gum, you're eating microplastics. Why? I don't know. It's insanity to me. But plastic is an amazingly toxic substance. Both to our mitochondria, but also to our endocrine system. And so, I was talking earlier about soulful conception, and we have men and women who are dealing with these fertility struggles, or, these, hormonal imbalances, and it's because the endocrine system is so whacked out, right? The hormones are all over the place. So our endocrine system is what produces hormones, and our hormones are little communicators, right? It's how they talk to each other, and Our sex hormones, of course, are super important for, natural, healthy procreation, as well as our, especially women, our cycle, or monthly cycles and so forth. And it's not normal to have extreme PMS symptoms, but we're seeing more and more people are dealing with extreme PMS symptoms, or the inability to get pregnant, or, unfortunately, loss, right? Or the inability to create the sperm, the healthy sperm, the sperm count, the sperm motility. All of those things are subject to our endocrine system. And so if plastics are these amazing endocrine disruptors, and so just to take a step back, estrogens, so plastics are considered estrogen mimickers, or xenoestrogens. We also have metalloestrogens, so heavy metals can create these estrogenic responses as well. But what happens is we have our cells, we have estrogen receptor sites all over our cells, on all of our cells, all over our body. This is for men and for women. And so what happens is these xenoestrogens attach really, really tightly to these estrogen receptor sites, not allowing for our own innate estrogen to do its job. So we end up with these massive fluctuations and the inability for our body to function properly because our hormones are so out of whack. And so what we're looking at is, if we're gum chewers, what it's shown is the plastics in the gum significantly decrease sperm count. If you listen to the show last week, or no, I think it was the week before, we were talking about the decline in male fertility. And in 60, oh gosh, I should know these stats, I just said them, but I think it's in the last 60 years, we've had a 40% decline in male fertility, something like that. It's tragic. It's tragic. It really is. And, a lot of it is due to all of these things that we're dealing with that our body doesn't know how to deal with. So it could be the xenoestrogens, it can be the EMFs that we're dealing with on way higher levels than our bodies know how to handle. It can be the food that we're eating, it can be the lack of nutrient-dense food. It's all of these things combined together, which is why I think soulful conception is so, so important, because, again, if we have the knowledge, we have the power to make the change. And then we have the power to increase sperm count and motility and the health of the sperm and the health of the eggs, right? So if you're a woman and you've been told that you can't increase the health of your eggs, it's just not true. You can, but you got to know how to do it. And you got to take the time to do it, which is, again, soulful conception is about creating the healthiest body that you possibly can, so you can create the healthiest pregnancy and create the healthiest baby, which then leads on to epigenetic changes for the positive for generations to come, and specifically for 7 generations, right? We can affect today, if you are out there and looking to get pregnant, you have the ability to affect 7 generations ahead. It's a lot of freaking responsibility. It's amazing and it's beautiful, but it is, again, I think it's so important. The power is in my hands. The power is in your hands. It's not up to your doctor. It's not up to your family or your spouse or your friends. It's up to you. And it's beautiful. It's really beautiful to know that you have the power to impact generations to come. It's amazing. And also knowing, though, that you today are impacted by 7 generations behind. So when we were talking about, I had a conversation with a friend just the other day about this. It's so interesting, but if there can be things that have happened generations in the past that are affecting you today. It can be trauma, right? We found those epigenetic trauma genes that can be turned on, and that can impact health and fertility and the way that we see the world and the way that we react in the world. And so I think having that knowledge also is so powerful, because if there is a history of trauma, even if it's generational trauma, find someone who can help you with that. Maybe you don't know it's a thing, but it can be a thing. And so find somebody who can help you with that, because that can be the key to just opening up a whole new world, right? It's so fascinating. It's so fascinating. Okay, so a couple of things. I think one of the things that I want to hit on that I say a lot, but I think it's really important to say again. I talk a lot about, of course, as a nutritionist, talk a lot about food. I love food. Food's amazing. But when we look at food and we take it down, break it down to what it is at its basics. We have all these, relationships with food, right? Some people have an amazing relationship with food and they love it and it's all fun. And some people are like, I don't know why food hates me. Every time I eat it, I feel terrible. But let's strip all of that away and take it back to its basics and what it is. It's a language. Food is literally, and the nutrients in our language that speak to our cells and to our DNA. And so if we're eating good, healthy food, then our body, it understands, right? It knows what to do. It knows how to function. It's like, just like, I speak English and I listen to English, and so I understand it. If we're eating unhealthy food that is full of toxins, full of colors, which are super toxic and potentially carcinogenic depending on the coloring, preservatives, chemicals, food that's not actually food, it sends a really unclean, broken line of communication to our cells, to our DNA, and in time our body's going to be like, I don't know what you're telling me anymore. This is where we go back to, we need to listen to our body, because it's going to start knocking on that door and saying, hey, there's something up and I need you to help me. I need you to step in because I can't do this on my own anymore. It's like an airplane, right? We've got all of these redundancies. The body has all of these redundancies, and they can go and go and go and go and go until it can't go anymore. And then you have then it starts to break down. And so if we listen to those symptoms and understand that the body's trying to tell us something, then we have the ability to intervene, right? And to get back to this, because I think sometimes it helps people to understand a little bit better, is when we're eating this unclean food and food's full of chemicals, it's almost like the food is speaking Spanish to an English-speaking body. It's like, I don't know what you're trying to tell me here, so I don't know what to do, and I don't know how to function anymore. And so taking that and really taking it to heart and knowing what it is that you're putting in your mouth, and again, what you're putting on your skin, because it's basically the same thing, knowing that it is literally telling your body what to do. But we also have to have the ability, the body has to have the ability to break down and to utilize the nutrients, which is, again, you go back to, that's why, functional lab testing is so important, because we can look at whether your body is struggling to break down food. We can look at if your body is absorbing nutrients. We can look at nutrient levels, micronutrient levels, both intracellularly and extracellularly, and both of those are going to tell us something a little bit different. And so we can start to get a clearer picture of why things are happening and how we can address those in order to allow the body to move into homeostasis, right, where you're not experiencing the symptoms anymore. Sometimes it's super simple and sometimes it's not. And so again, just taking a step back and asking the question, why is this happening? And if I can't figure it out, I need to go find somebody who can help me figure it out, or multiple people who can help you figure it out. We got to have a team. I think having a team is one of the best things that we can do in order to get to those places that we need to be in life. So whether it's dealing with health issues, whether it's business issues, if it's family issues, financial issues, spiritual issues, right? We got to have our people who are there to help us, to support us, who are there to help us grow, who listen to us and only want to lift us up. Because when we're being lifted up, then we can also lift. And I think that is key to life, right? It's key to us creating, us creating a world that is a little bit different than it has been over the last couple of years. we have become very disconnected, and we're continuing with the way the internet and everything works is pretty disconnected. But getting back to supporting each other as much as possible, even if we don't always agree. I think it's important to try to support as much as we can. So anyway, let's see. I think it's important to try to figure out what I want to talk about next. But understanding when we're looking at food, it's sad because we've taken this most basic thing and we don't understand it anymore, right? So take flour, for instance. We've for millennia, we have been making flour-based foods, right? So bread and unleavened bread and, all of these things. And what it does to us now is very different than what it did to us back then. But what's happened? Well, we have industrialized our food. So besides the fact that it's full of pesticides and herbicides, we have taken, so gluten specifically, right, or the wheat grain specifically, we've taken it, we've modified it, hybridized it, and increased the gluten content. So it bypasses the blood-brain barrier. So that, in and of itself creates problems and addictions. But we eat so much of it at this point. It's like flour and sugar is in everything. And so this only creates a situation of, more likelihood of insulin resistance, right? And so we have insulin resistance, and we have more metabolic conditions, more metabolic diseases, and all of these, this inflammatory process that all it does is create more and more and more of a problem. But it's because we've changed the food and because we eat more of these things. Really, if we were to if we're plant-based, right? It's not that we should eat all plants, but eat a lot of plants, right? I've started making a soup that it's like a big, huge thing of soup. And I'll just kind of eat it throughout the day, but it's all vegetables. And I'll mix it with some bone broth, which is really nice too. But I'll eat that, and I eat it throughout the day, and it's just this really nice, easy, comforting veggie soup. And when I get hungry, that's what I'll go to until I'm ready to eat something else, right? But having something like that that's a go-to, and maybe I should probably do a show on just some simple tips to have things in the fridge, so you have a go-to, so you're not tempted to go to the bread. Let's just not have it in the house anyway. But there's some amazing, healthy nut-based breads out there right now. One I've talked about it before, but my favorite right now is Base Culture, because it's a nut-based bread. It's a healthy alternative, and it's going to have good healthy fats, and it's going to have more fat than it is carbohydrate, and it's delicious. So it's not cardboard, which is nice, because a lot of bread up till this time has been pretty cardboardy. But so many beautiful alternatives to our not even traditional foods, to our industrialized foods. And just taking those and getting back to basics, eating good healthy fat, eating good healthy meat, eating good healthy vegetables, and then all of the rest of it is kind of little bits here and there. If you can do some gluten-free grains, then maybe that's okay for you. Some beans, maybe that's okay for you. So really just taking it, looking at your plate, and if you know that what's on your plate is from the ground, is from the earth, that's key. And it's key to allowing your body to work properly and to continue to work properly, to allow for your hunger hormones to work properly, for your sex hormones to work properly, for your thyroid hormones to work properly. All of these things are key in allowing the body to function. And it's not about living longer, but about living fully in the time that we have here. And so, we have, all of these longevity, classes and courses and conferences, and which is great. I mean, I think it's important because there's a lot of important information in there, but we don't know how long we have. but we certainly know that if we are here for an extended period of time, I know I don't want to be in a wheelchair. I know I want to be able to walk. I know I'm going to want to be able to go and do the things that I need to do and want to do, and to continue to help uplift others as long as I'm here. And if there's any chance that I'm going to be wheelchair bound or have to have a walker, I mean, that scares the crap out of me. And so that's, part of my motivation is to make sure that that doesn't happen, because I don't want to be 90 and stuck in a bed or stuck in a home, right? And sometimes there are those things that they're obviously factors that we that are out of our control, but I'm going to do my damnedest to make sure that I am as healthy as I possibly can for as long as I'm here. So anyway, what else do we have? I think that probably shouldn't start anything else. We've only got just a couple of minutes left, but I think I want to just kind of hit on soulful conception again. This is a program intended for women and for men. It does speak mostly to women, but it's so important to make sure that we're including men's health as we're talking about procreating, as we're talking about preconception planning. There are some simple things that we can do, and there's some not so simple things that we can do to ensure that we're doing everything possible to create that healthy pregnancy and that healthy baby. And half of it is it's on the part of the man. So coming into it as a partnership, I think, is very, very important. And having the understanding that the data shows that just a few lifestyle changes can increase or can decrease the negative outcomes of pregnancy, right? It's small changes that make big differences. And so my goal is to come at this and work with people as early as possible so we can get beyond the junk, right, and get as healthy as possible. And how long does that take? I don't know. Is it a month? Is it 3 months? Is it a year? It really depends on what's going on, right? If someone comes to me and they have Hashimoto's, right? So Hashimoto's can have a major impact on fertility. Hashimoto's, if you don't know, it's an autoimmune thyroid condition. So if we're dealing with something like that, it might take longer to get healthy to make sure that we can that she can hold on to that pregnancy. But if it's just a few simple lifestyle changes, that's great too. So it depends on the person, depends on the need, depends on the health status. But doing everything that we can today makes a difference for later on, right? It makes a difference for generations, which is, again, it's super fascinating, super intriguing, and it really can make a difference. We're in a place in our health right now, and I said this earlier a little bit, but I think we're sicker. We're living longer. Well, not after COVID, we're not, but we have been living longer, but we are also sicker. And we don't have the immunity that we should have. We don't have our bodies don't function as well as they should because of all of these things that we've discussed today. And there are other things as well. But I always want you to know that sometimes it's important to look outside the conventional. And that's the goal of this show too, is to, whether it's by me or by a guest I bring in, it really is about bringing to you the people who are the very best at what they do, who maybe are not conventional, but maybe have the ability to help you with whatever your situation is, right? So lots of different modalities, different gifts that people have, different views that people have that allow them to serve different people for their different needs. And that's, I have a lot of gifts that I can share, but there are a lot of things that I have no clue about. So I'm very, very well aware of that. And so I want people to know that there's more than just the conventional. I want people to know that there are people who can help them with their generational trauma, right? They can allow for us to get rid of some of that junk. They can allow us to move through the blocks, whether that's, again, physical, mental, and emotional, that can help us through financial difficulties, spiritual questions, that kind of thing. So finding the people who are your people is how we can lift each other up and how we can be better. And that's really, one of my few purposes here is to do my best to bring goodness, whether that's through me or through other people, to continue to spread goodness, right? And spread health and spread understanding, and continue to give and continue to serve and have some fun, right? This is, part of feeling good is having fun, and fun is a good thing, and laughter is a good thing. The last thing that I'll say on laughter, some of you know I lost my mom a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago, and I was reading a book on the stories of people who healed their cancer outside of the conventional, and what they did to heal their cancer. And one of them that really struck me was a woman who healed her cancer through laughter. She didn't do any kind of conventional treatments, and I'm not saying that conventional treatments are bad. Everybody's different, and everybody does what they need to do for themselves. But she took to heart the fact that we don't laugh the way that we should, and we don't laugh as often as we should. And really, laughter is so healing. And so take that for what it is. Laugh some more. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your food. Eat good food. Healthy food can be delicious. And a lot of people don't think that's the case, but oh my goodness, healthy food can be delicious. So take it. Also, know that if you're making changes, if you're making lifestyle changes from the fast food or the junk food to the more healthy foods, know that you're not only doing it for you, but you're doing it for your family. If you are a childbearing years, you're doing it for generations. These are the things that can save lives, literally can save lives. And I think it's important to know that, again, power's in our hands, right? Power's in your hands. So take it, love on it, enjoy it. And I think I'm by myself again next week. So we'll talk about some other fun stuff. But I'm always here to be of service. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out, whether it's to tastelifenutrition.com. I have a free assessment you can take, and I reach out to you personally, and we chat about it and see where we might be able to help. If you have questions about soulful conception, which is purposeful living, soulful, F-U-L-L, purposeful living for a healthy body, a healthy pregnancy, and a healthy baby, I would love to talk to you about that. I have, just like with the show, lots of really cool, amazing experts who are part of my team to help you through that preconception planning process. Really, really good stuff. Super excited about that. And then, of course, you can always reach out to me via, Facebook or Instagram or any of those places. I do my best. Not always great, but I do my best. Anyway, have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you same time, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, streaming live here on KUHSdenver.com. And then, of course, turning into the Taste Life Nutrition Podcast. See you later. Bye, everybody.